Okay, so behind me here is the smoker, just about finished. You can see I basically layered it. This is pretty much all Doug fir boughs. Doesn't need to be super tight, you're just trying to capture smoke for a moment. And there's actually an opening I'll show you in the top that allows the chimney in effect to take place. But you can see there's a little bit of light shining through there. That's not a big deal. We're not trying to get it really hot in there, so having some breathability is fine. The smoke needs to be able to leave. If the smoke can't leave, it won't fill back in and get fresh smoke. So you can see the light up there for the chimney. What I've done in here is build this rack. This doesn't need to be tied down with cord, and in fact it's kind of nice to not do it because you can just grab hold of one side of the rack and slide everything across and get it out of the way. I decided to do it because this is so high off the ground. It's about 4.5 feet above the fire. I've got plenty of clearance to do all my cooking on my rack here, and on this on my pot holder here. So that's not a big deal in this instance, so I kept it and tied it all down. If you don't tie it down and you bump the whole thing, it can come crashing down, and then you're wishing you tied it down. So I did use some cord up here to fasten these branches to. This could just as easily have been willow wands or sticks or whatever. As long as you have a way to fasten them, it would have been just basically a repeat of what's going on down here. You can also, if you don't have cordage like I did here, you can take a forked stick like what I'm using right here to hold this and that thing over there, and you can put a forked stick up underneath like this, and that will hold up on all three corners. Anything you need to do, you can do that here, you can do it there, and you can do it up there as well. Next is covering off this last side, and then you can use this grate right here to put meat directly on top of it. You can do fine strips like jerky, and you would want to lay them across the grate. That way they will shrink up considerably, and then you don't want them falling in the fire. You can also hang them from something up in the top. The idea is you get smoke up coming through here, smoke filters through all the meat and then out the smoke hole in the top. And depending on the humidity, what time of year, what kind of material you're using to smoke, how thick the meat is, etc., you could be smoking for, the course of the day or several days before your meat is fully cured. And you'll just, and also preference. Maybe you like your meat to be drier or more smoky or whatever. But alder chips would be what I'm going to be using for the 2 deer legs that I'm going to be putting in here. So this is not hard to build. I've been working on this. I had the tripod in place already, but I haven't been into this more than an hour, and I'm pretty much done. I've got all the rest of the boughs that I need for it laying right there. And then I'm going to hang 2 haunches of a young deer in here first thing tomorrow morning, and let them smoke. I'm actually, generally, I would strip it down into like jerky sized bits, but I'm going to actually try and do whole legs. It's a very young deer. They're pretty small, and I want to see how that works out. Young deer don't have a whole lot of flavor in them, and there's kind of a sweet spot with deer where you can get that great big buck with the nice antlers, and he's going to be the worst meat you've ever tasted because he's old and tough. There's a saying, you can't eat antlers, and I really don't agree with trophy hunting for big antlers. Those guys should be out there putting good genes into the forest. It's a good way to breed small animals. There's a reason ranchers don't eat their prize bull. They need them. So some other things I did in here, see if the light is good enough, if I get it in here. These little things are just kind of floating. They're just keeping the branches back out to open this up a little bit. So there was no twine or anything involved in that. But yeah, we'll see tomorrow how a couple of young deer legs go. Yeah, so young deer, they don't have a lot of flavor in them, but if you smoke them, they're delicious. So be useful.